I would say that the biggest impact that Twitter's had on the newspaper industry is about how it's changed the way we look for breaking news. In the past, you would have looked at the news wires all the time to see what was happening, and now I would say it's very much the Twitter feed. So much so, in fact, that the man from the BBC was saying that they sometimes miss stories because they're not looking at the wires, they're only looking at Twitter. No, I don't. I think that's one benefit. I think one benefit is that there's the breaking news element. But the real benefit, I think, as a columnist on a newspaper is the immediate interaction with your readers. So you absolutely know if you've written a good column, which people are responding to, or whether it's kind of just like slightly gone flat out there in the ether. So I think it's that sense of real reciprocity and knowing what's connected and what hasn't, and also getting that feedback. And you often get very good ideas for other stories or other issues from the kind of feedback you get on Twitter. Well, this week's, I think, has been really interesting with the Ellen DeGeneres tweet from the Oscars. I know it almost crashed the Twitter site. I think that's been a pretty groundbreaking change in the way that news happens, and it's also then been on every single front page. So I think you're really seeing Twitter not just leading the news cycle and telling newspapers where they should be looking, but also then kind of creating even the way in which that news coverage is framed. I think that is new. I think that the whole concept of the selfie and the tweet is really kind of curating how we all see the world. The Sunday Times has a very connected relationship with Twitter. We've got so many sub-brands, home section, style section, business. They're all very lively on Twitter, and so I think that they become real hubs for discussions about those particular areas. And of course, we have very high-profile columnists like Jeremy Clarkson, who kind of often lead the discussion on Twitter anyway. So I think newspapers and Twitter really need each other. I think you amplify what we do. I think without us, Twitter would be very boring. Yeah, I do. I think the immediacy of it and the brevity of it is great. I like the way that it tells me about something and then I can link to something else if I want to find out about it. And I think that that's different from other social platforms. Also, Twitter is much more of a public space. Facebook tends to be you talking to your friends. You curate much more who's around that other kinds of social media. Whereas the great thing about Twitter is it's out there, anyone can see it, but it does mean that you have to be careful what you say. Never tweet drunk. Read it back and really think about it before you send it. I think you have to remember that Twitter it's like being a publisher. You are your own publisher. On a newspaper, before anything goes in the newspaper, it goes through the lawyer, somebody else will read it. So you have to be your own editor and lawyer in your head before you tweet. And everyone should remember that because it's a public space. You are the publisher. It's not idle chat down the pub. It never goes away.